Hezbollah was founded in 1982 in response to the Israeli invasion of Lebanon. Widely considered a terrorist organization, it drew inspiration from the Iranian Revolution and has close links to Iran and Syria. While it has not claimed involvement in any major attacks since 2006, huge amounts of weapons have been intercepted by Israel and U.S. authorities. Much of Hezbollah's ideological inspiration comes from Grand Ayatollah Muhammad Hussein Fadlallah. For many Muslims around the world, he is considered a marja, a figure to be emulated. His rhetoric pertained to the ideological struggle between Western and Middle Eastern powers. While he was an advocate for women's rights and insisted on dialogue with the West, he also condoned suicide attacks against Israel. For the U.S. and Israel, it was his relationship with Hezbollah that defined him, although he denied exercising authority over the Shia militant group.
What is legitimate today is defensive war. When colonialists occupy your country to steal your wealth and oppress your human values, it is your right to defend yourself. The question of jihad in Islam is no different from the resistance or struggle or defense that is fostered by any other civilization, whether this civilization is Christian, capitalist, Marxist, or whatever. The problem is that the definition of terrorism has become a relative definition. The Western media consider any liberation movement against an occupier or against certain Western policies that are being imposed on the Third World as terrorism.
إسرائيل هي عدونا. هذا كيان غاصب غير قانوني غير شرعي ولا مستقبل له في أرضنا، ومصيره يعبر عنه دمنا والشعار الموت لإسرائيل. ومن خلف إسرائيل تأتي الإدارة الأمريكية. عندما أقول أمريكا يجب أن أوضح، لا نقصد الشعب الأمريكي الذي بأغلبيته بعيد وجاهل بما يجري في العالم وبما تقوم به حكوماته وإداراته وجيوشه في العالم. أمريكا، هذه الإدارة الأمريكية هي عدو، وشعارنا الذي رفعناه ولا نخشى أن نكرره في كل عام: الموت لأمريكا.
Since 1992, Hezbollah has been led by Hassan Nasrallah, who the Washington Post describes as a man of God, gun, and government, a cross between Ayatollah Khomeini and Che Guevara, an Islamic populist as well as a charismatic guerrilla tactician. Originally a military commander, he studied Shiite theology in Iran and Iraq, which quickly elevated him to a leadership position. Experts say he took advantage of rivalries within Hezbollah in the favor of Ayatollah Khomeini. Hassan Nasrallah is a bit of a celebrity in Lebanon. The Washington Post writes, "His black head wrap, signifying his descent from the Prophet Muhammad, is now his trademark, and he is Lebanon's best-known politician. Lines from his speeches are popular ringtones on cell phones. Wall posters, key rings, and even phone cards bear his image. Taxis play his speeches instead of music." In the poor, dense, and dangerous maze of slums outside Beirut, Nasrallah is an icon, famed for his oratory and revered as a champion of Lebanon's long-dispossessed Shiite minority. The Shia populations in Lebanon supported Israel's 1982 invasion due to a decade of increasing tension between the Shia and the PLO. This would allow Israel to remove Palestinians from Lebanon. It was only until Israeli troops began regulating local villages and arresting Shia leaders that they rebelled, creating Hezbollah. Hezbollah came to rise so quickly because it absorbed pre-existing groups that shared common grievances, namely the existence of an Israeli state, its occupation of Lebanon, as well as the Palestinian diaspora. Lebanese politics are complicated by a great deal of religious diversity. Initially, Hezbollah wished to turn Lebanon into an Islamic state and attempted to impose Sharia law in southern Lebanon, but this was very unpopular. Instead, Hezbollah continues to thrive because it has become less openly violent in recent years. 52% of the overall Lebanese population is in favor of Hezbollah. However, the group's main support comes from Shia Muslims, who make up 35% of the population and who dwell on the Israeli and Syrian borders. Much of this is due to the number of public goods that Hezbollah is able to provide, like major hospitals, discount pharmacies, groceries, orphanages, and mosques. It reconstructed areas after the Israeli invasion and compensates the families of young men they recruit. Altogether, it benefits an estimated 250,000 Lebanese and is the country's second largest employer. However, critics point out that this is possible only because of Iranian funding.
In all, there were between 250 and 400,000 Palestinians living in camps in Lebanon. Most are descendants of those who had to flee Palestine after the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. Many have never left Lebanon, but even here their presence is not without problems. Many Lebanese are unwilling for the Palestinians to be naturalised, perhaps unsettling the country's delicate equilibrium. The result is a series of stringent laws against them. They're not able to buy a house and they're barred from certain professions such as medicine or accountancy. Hopelessness here is endemic and there's zero belief in the chances of the current Middle East peace process.
Hezbollah is able to recruit many Palestinians into their movement by offering them a chance to escape poverty and reclaim their pride by attacking Israel. The Hezbollah political party receives support from 90% of Palestinian refugees, as it provides them with jobs, medical services, and access to goods otherwise denied to them. It has been suggested that if Hezbollah publicly supports Palestinian civil rights, particularly the right to work, the party will lose favor not only with the Shia population, but with Sunni and Christian communities as well. Hezbollah is deeply embedded in the social networks of Lebanese society. Their charity work sustains the public's faith and reliance, while it appeals to individuals with extremist views or grievances with Israel. The group's presence, however, is a catch-22. It justifies Israeli invasion, which in turn allows Hezbollah to remain as protectors. In 2009, the Washington Institute for Near East Policy reported that Hezbollah is strong enough to drag Lebanon into war against the will of the sovereign government. WikiLeaks exposed that Lebanese officials have discussed allowing Israel to invade and exterminate the insurgent group. Other leaked conversations revealed concern over rising Iranian power, implying that extreme Shia politics are falling out of favor and causing concern among Arab diplomats. But this threat is not just localized to Lebanon. Hezbollah is a transnational threat to peace and security. It has been at the forefront in extremist warfare, engineering many of the strategies and weaponry that other terrorist groups employ today, the most infamous being the suicide bomber. Al-Qaeda and Iraqi insurgents have mimicked their tactics, while Hamas, the Palestinian extremist group, receives special training. While Hezbollah has enough firepower to reach Israel's southern border, a joint attack with Hamas could devastate Israel.
The Israelis were surprised by Hezbollah's new weaponry. The modern, Russian-made anti-tank missiles Hezbollah was using had been acquired from Syria and Iran. Hezbollah was using them with deadly effectiveness. The Lebanon war was going increasingly high-tech.
Israel developed the Merkava and turned it into a symbol of Israeli military technology. It showed it off to all the armies of the world. It became a legend. And so, in response to this, Hezbollah acquired weapons with the aim of destroying the Merkava. They developed, and we developed too, and we surprised them.
There have been reports of Hezbollah activity in South America, spreading their influence into Venezuelan politics and Colombian and Mexican drug cartels. Mexico reported that it had broken up Hezbollah operations, although what Hezbollah was actually doing, if anything, is difficult to say. Regardless, Hezbollah's innovations and political connections make it a credible and dangerous peace and security threat to the international community.